Guys, quick status update. I ended up going undefeated at OTS today in preparation for YCS Philly with this profile that we're about to go through. So we are not blowing smoke with this smoke screen. Let's get into it. What's going on, guys? Logan JYA. I'm going to keep this intro super duper brief. We are taking an update on my old friend Charlie's deck profile, the super heavy sprite strategy, and bringing it in to the modern day with what we've learned from the current format and adding in our own little brand of spice. So be sure to check it out. Combo tutorial at the end that lets you know how to do the mainline combo. And let me know what you think down below. This is still a work in progress build. I need to hear from you so we can get ready for the next big tournaments and locals in the near future. Without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, homies, you saw the title. This is an update to the super heavy sprite strategy, and again, this might be the second best machine deck. Honestly, man, the super heavy package is insane. And with a looming ban list on the sidelines, this might be a good hybrid to consider trying. Even right now, the power ceiling on this deck is truly insane. I think there's some opportunities to improve, some other choices that we might want to experiment with, but this is a deck that I'm intrigued by, and I really want to share it with you because of one of the new strategies that I've been thinking about trying with it, and we'll talk about that more later. So without further ado, let's dive into the profile. Alright guys, we're going to run through the basics real quick. Of course, we're playing triple of the YuGiOh, however you pronounce it. This is that broken card that really enabled this deck to go crazy, along with this friend, Big Ben K, alright? You play the two of it because if you open with one and then the YuGiOh just becomes completely dead. You can't use its effect. Got three of the other one-card enablers that just search the others, that being the motorbike, and in this build in particular, it being a level 2 is really relevant. Sometimes you're not even going to be employing the super heavy combo. I'm going to show the combo at the end, but you might not actually be taking full advantage of that combo. You might actually be playing this more like a sprite deck, and that's going to come into more effect even later on. But we play the one card combos that really truly get you there, and this is going to sound crazy. I know in the original profile it definitely sounded crazy, but we only play the one Soul Piercer because in this build, again, it's a sprite deck with the super heavy package, not the other way around. So you only need the one Soul Piercer. And when I was alluding to the ban list looming, my friends and I were theorizing that if they were going to hit super heavy at all, the likely hit would be Soul Piercer to 1, an old card, not really intruding on the new engine, and still very abusable. Very similar to when they hit Drytron and put Ben 10 to 1. This card is basically Ben 10. I've seen memes about that online as well. It's very, very similar in what it enables for the strategy. So that's likely going to be a hit, and this hybrid build may very well take off post-ban list. And even right now, this is a kind of more budget-friendly variant of the super heavy deck. If you already have the sprite package, you don't actually need to invest as much in the extra deck, and obviously in the main deck as well, you are playing a bunch of other cards to kind of support the cast. You do still need to play minimum one Soul Peacemaker though for the main combo line, so we have that one here captured. Of course, a huge shout out and credit to my friend Charlie who did the original profile. We've just been experimenting with this deck on the side as well. Now onto the sprite package. In the main deck, this is the sprite side that I'm putting in right now. We got triple copies of blue, of course, the GOAT, and then one copy of Jet, one copy of red, and one copy of Carrot. This is a very small sprite package in the main, honestly, but it is still the main star of the show for the core sprite monsters. You want to see both engines, but if you only see one, you're still only able to play with one. It doesn't make that much of a difference, trust me. And going through the super heavy package, you do actually get yourself into the sprite side of the card game. So that is the sprite cards, the hard sprite cards, but then it's not done yet. We've got triple copies of the Nimble Beaver, of course, as well as 2 copies of Nimble Angler. Shout out to my boy Yokman, who's actually saying might want to consider bumping this one up to 3 because you can pitch it for the super heavy Samurai Scarecrow and then trigger its effect to summon 2 more off of the deck. In testing, that actually has come up. It's interesting, and sometimes the lines get really, really weird, especially as you play through them and when you're playing through interruptions in particular, but that is something you want to keep in mind in your back pocket because, again, these engines bridge together in so many different ways, many of which I'm not even in tune to yet, but you might find use for. And then we play the 1 copy of Swap Frog as well as the 1 copy of the Newman for the end board pieces. They're kind of core to the strategy as well, at least how we're choosing to play the sprite cards. And then finally, this one is another bridge card. It's the Cyberstein. It's a level 2. You search it off of the Gear Geigen X and establish the Exterio, and that is one of your key end board pieces that accompanies your board when you're bridging through the engines, and then you link this off into Sprint in the main combo line, which I'll show you at the end. That's what you use this guy for. Now for the hand traps, we play a ton of them because this is still a super heavy deck. We really can take advantage of all that extra space. We play triple copies of Gamma and the Driver, triple copies of Ash, I mean, we got to stay ready for Brandon. I think these are probably the more tried and true hand traps for this current format, but if you disagree, let me know in the comments down below. What do you think would make more sense, especially going into a real event, whether it be locals or a big tournament? Triple copies of the Droll and Lockbird to deal with the mirror, to the cash tiers, everything, Drytron. Dude, I hate this card. You all know how much I hate this card, but we have to play it. We have to play it, unfortunately. And then additional cards that I'm playing 2 Ogres, less good. It's good against Super Heavy, less good against cash tier. Yes, you can hit Birth, but if you're under Shifter, it doesn't work. Same thing as Droll, because it has to hit the grave. And then also 2 copies of the Mourner, just a bit more of an applicable Veiler. Unfortunately, you know, it does lose to access code. It does lose to normal summonable monsters, but you aren't locked out to only doing it on your opponent's turn in the main phase. You have a little bit more flexibility with this one, so that's why we're testing this one right now. And the final 2 cards in the main deck, 1 copy of Starter and 1 copy of Double Cross. Okay, so Double Cross is a key piece of the end board. It lets you play around Dark Ruler no more. And then Starter is another means of expanding the engine, an alternate target, search target for Jet, as well as one of the extra cards that can finish off your combo. If you wanted to, you could play more copies in the main deck, but one of my ideas with this build, I wanted to have it be down to 40 cards, and I didn't want it to be polluted with too many spells and traps, at least in the main board. But we'll explain more kind of as we move into the side deck. I want to show you guys the extra deck real quick first, though. We're going to start with the super heavy side of things. In the extra deck, it's actually a very small package. You're going to be surprised. Only play the 1 Scarecrow, which a lot of people may object to, but in this build, it's going to make more sense as we go on. The 1 Gear Gigan X I alluded to, this is how you search our Cyberstein. The 1 Boral Savage Dragon, this is the negate that you're going to establish going through the super heavy line, and the 1 Exterio to summon off of the Cyberstein. And that is it for the super heavy side of things in the extra deck. Now, mind you, if you're playing against Cash Tira and they rip out the super heavy Samurai Scarecrow, you're probably thinking, oh crap, well now that super heavy package is dead. We're going to talk about that, don't you worry. We're going to talk about that. We got a strategy for that. Now, for the Sprite side of the extra deck, I wish I had more room for Link monsters, I'm going to be honest, but right now I'm only playing 1 Sprint and 1 Reaperdocus, and it's going to make more sense again as we go on through here. I've put a lot of concentration into the Exceed side of things. I think there's definitely something else we should be playing here, but right now, to keep it at 15 cards, these are the 2 Link monsters that I'm choosing to play, and I wish I had room for more, but I really wanted to focus more on the Exceed. So, speaking of, continuing on, 2 copies of Gigantic, my boy. You play him, he's one of your main enablers. You don't want this one getting ripped out by Cash, and it makes a lot of sense. You kind of have to play 2 if you want the Sprite engine to kind of keep living. Then we've got the 1 Totally Awesome key piece of the end board and the Sprite strategy. 1 copy of the Soul Sweeper. This is a very important piece of removal, a Zeus enabler, all that good stuff. Speaking of Zeus enablers, I've also got a copy of the Ninja Shadow Mosquito. I thought this one was worth playing, but I'm not sure. I've got a few other alternate cards that I've been thinking about I want to show to you guys as we round out this extra deck. But I thought the Mosquito was pretty important because there are still lines where you're going to be able to line up the kill with this guy or a Zeus play with this guy. So I thought he was pretty important. You know, can't be killed by battle, can kind of swing into anything, especially important when your opponent's monsters are all in attack position. If you're able to hit them, negate their board, or take out that main form of interruption, that Arise Heart, and able to go in for that Zeus play, Mosquito might be one of your main enablers. I am currently playing the Mannequin Cat. I'm not sold on this one. This one might be a means of cutting back, especially on the side deck. Like, I'm not playing crazy targets. They can bridge the 2 engines, but I'm not sure if it's essential. So this might be a cuttable slot. I'm 50-50 on it. But these ones, the next cards that I'm going to play, oh, one thing I will mention is there is that Pearly rank 2 that can attach things from either player's graveyard, spells and traps from either player's graveyard to make even bigger Zeuses. That might also be an option. Sky Cavalry might be an option. Those are other things I'm thinking about. And then anyway, speaking of Zeus cards, we got the 1 Downard and then the 2 Zeus, because the Zeus part of this strategy is also very, very important. So that is it for the extra deck as it's currently built. Some of the other alternatives that I was thinking about playing, one card that Charlie mentioned in his original profile was the Underworld Goddess for having a main deck out to the Nor. Makes sense. Pearly is still a very scary deck. We have side deck outs for it, and a lot of hand traps, obviously. I've tried to stop them from playing, but it's important to have an out, so this one could be very well a good option, as well as a Unicorn for removal, or, you know, pair this with an IP. It's another potential end board piece. And then finally was another rank 2 I was thinking about playing, which was the Djinn Buster, which is just another means of establishing a negate. Definitely curious to hear what you guys think about these options. Let me know if you think we should swap these in for any of the other cards. Now finally, let's round things out with the side deck, because this is where things get spicy, okay guys? This is where the strategy really takes off and why I really want to share this update on this profile with you guys. It's going to sound silly, but let's just dive right in. Starting things off, we got 2 copies of Sprite Jet, followed by 2 more copies of Sprite Starter, and 1 copy of Sprite Smashers. So you might already know what I'm doing here. I have a side deck strategy where we just take out all of the super heavy cards and smoke screen into pure Sprite. That is the idea here. It's something similar to what Charlie was saying, but we're not committing as hard in the main deck. We're actually putting the remainder of the Sprite cards into the side and choosing to play with them there. So you can side out, it's 10 cards committed hard for the super heavies in the main, so you can take those out and bring in these 5 cards as well as additional hand traps and interruptions specifically when you're going second against a deck like Cash Tira. If you're going second against Cash Tira, I recommend taking out all the super heavy cards, bringing in the Sprite cards, and turning the deck into Zeus Turbo. You turn it into Zeus Turbo, and then you make it a tempo game that you can control and win with the power of Sprite. It's still a very serious strategy. I think it makes sense to worth trying. And let me finish out the side deck so you can see the other options that we bring in when we're doing the smoke screen. Triple Copies in a Biru, again, another crazy card that's good against Cash and other road matchups. Triple Copies a Gamma Seal. This is particularly for the Pearlies. I would usually lean on the side of leaving in the super heavies and siding out some of the less applicable hand traps for that matchup, but again, we want to stay ready to out that Nor, so that's why I've got those Gamma Seals in here. Triple Copies of the Dark Ruler no more, okay? This is coming in against almost anything, whether you're going against the mirror match, that being pure super heavy, or you're playing against Cash Tira, a way of turning off the Arise Heart. Yes, your zones are still locked, but they're going to go after your back row and the pen scales in particular, and if you sided out the whole super heavy package, then that's pretty unapplicable, you know? And hopefully they end up also going after your one of Scarecrow in the extra deck. That's the logic behind this. They hit off the one of Scarecrow and you don't care. You get to keep your Zeuses, you get to keep your Sprite engine online. They think you're crippling a huge part of your deck. You're really not, because you took the whole darn thing out. So, Dark Ruler, again, I think is very important. And the last card I've got in the extra deck, this is in the side deck, because we're at 14 right now. I wanted it to be a Pankratops. I couldn't find one, so I just put in 1 copy of Fenrir, but in reality, I would like this to be either a 1 of Pankratops or Triple Tactics Talents, were another card I was thinking about, because yes, that's another way of outing the Arise Heart. If you're able to spend a card into it, or they actually trigger effect beforehand in the main phase, you can just take it and do the Zeus play, you know, all in on the Zeus Turbo strat. But this is another card that's good going first or second, whether it be Pankratops or Fenrir, because you can just Pendulum Summon it out. The same logic applies for a pure super heavy deck. So that's it for the profile, guys. I do want to show you the vanilla combo tutorial. This deck is a lot more than just this one combo, though. It's going to take a lot of practice to really get down. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Let's do this combo tutorial and round things out. Let's do it. Alright, my friends, as promised, we're going to run through the combo tutorial real quick to show you what the vanilla combo looks like with this strategy. Now, you can do it as a 1.5 card combo with Wakushi or Wakushi Access, that being itself, or the bike to get you to it, or you can do it with the little extra spice of opening up the Sprite Blue. And I'm going to show you the full nut board, which is with opening up either Sprite Blue or Starter or Jet. We can get you to that full end board, but you need not do it. I'll show you where the point of differentiation is. You still get an insane board with just going through the full vanilla Wakushi combo. But let's start things off. Starting it off, of course, you're going to put this in the scale. You're going to go for its effect. And of course, this is paying no mind to hand traps. That is not how things are going to go. Likely you are going to be stopped. But the cool thing is you're going to see the points to pivot between your two engines kind of as we go through this. So of course, we use Wakushi to get the Big Benkei, and Big Benkei searches off the Soul Piercer. Since it's a soul card, we can add it to hand. Then we attach it actually to the Wakaushi, which may seem a little odd. Most people usually normal summon it at this point, but you're going to see that we're going to try and hold our normal summon as long as possible for later on in the combo, because we link off the Wakushi to go for the Scarecrow, trigger off the Soul Piercer's effect to search. That will grab us the Soul Peacemaker to hand, and then we are actually going to use the effect of the Scarecrow. I'll pitch that one extra card in hand, doesn't matter what it is. It can be literally anything, a Gamma, a Driver, a Dead Hand Trap, and just summon back that Soul Piercer. Then you attach the Soul Peacemaker to your Scarecrow, clear it out of the EMZ, tributing it off, to special summon out another Wakushi from your deck. Now you're going to Synchro Summon. That's going to put the Wakushi in the scale and the Soul Peacemaker in the grave. You're going to be able to chain block all those beauties, with Wakushi probably being your last chain link, so you can resolve your Boral Savage to attach and get a free negate with your Scarecrow, and then your Soul Peacemaker is going to search another copy of Wakushi to your hand. Now you're set up to go for your Pendulum Summon here. So, of course, you can Pendulum Summon out more monsters if you have them in hand and want to spend them, but just for the sake of this combo, we're going to be bringing out the two Wakushis, one from the hand, one from the extra deck, and then overlay them immediately for the Gear Geigen X. Gear Geigen is what's going to let you search off the Cyberstein, which is, again, a big point of where these two engines bridge, but you need not be worried about that. If you need to bridge sooner, just using level 2s to get you into Sprint, you can combo out of tricky situations. So you add the Cyberstein. This is where you can commit the normal summon if you're going for the full combo, pay your 5,000 life points, and then bring out the Naturia Exterio over here on the other side. Again, if you get stopped beforehand, think of the Cyberstein as an accessory, okay? way, it's not essential. You can start pivoting to the sprites a little bit earlier, but we're showing you the full combo here. So we'll link these two off now because you're able to go for your sprint since Cyberstein is a level 2. We'll summon the sprint, we'll use its effect. That's going to send off the Nimble Angler. Nimble Angler's effect is going to summon out 2 beautiful beavers from the main deck, like so. Now we can overlay. I'm going to do it this way. There's other ways to do this. You can summon the blue earlier or later. It doesn't make much of a difference. But I'm going to overlay these two for the Gigantic on the top because the Gigantic isn't really going to be staying on the board for our intents and purposes. We're going to detach off of it. Summon out the Swap Frog like so. Just make sure it's not in either one of these zones. And Swap Frog is going to send the Newman from main deck to grave just like that. Next, we can special summon out our Sprite Blue and use Blue's effect. Again, if you had Starter or Jet, you would just do the same thing. If you have Jet, you're just skipping away from the Blue entirely. If you have Starter, can go for Blue and then Jet subsequently. But we're going to search Jet off of the Blue here, then link these two off for Reprodocus. Reprodocus, summon that over on the left. We're going to change the Beaver so we can overlay it into Totally Awesome in the middle. And then we can special summon out the Jet and use Jet's effect to search out the Double Cross. So this is the full board. Again, very similar to what Charlie showed us. This is what you're able to end on when everything goes right and you go for the full combo. You have got 1, 2 Omni negates, infinite spell and trap negates, and to play around the Dark Ruler no more, you have that Double Cross, which I oftentimes will recommend holding. If you want to play around Kaijus, you could shotgun it and summon this, and then nothing on your board can be Kaijus or Lava Golems. However, if you don't want to play around that, I think it's more relevant to play around the Dark Ruler no more. You kind of just hold, and if they have to kaiju you, they have to pick one thing. Most people will probably go after the Exterio. Regardless, it's still an insane board. When you tribute off the Toad, you get your guaranteed add back for the Beaver, which means you can continue playing Sprite going into the next turn. You have a second Gigantic in your extra deck, which means you have additional access to blue, to carrot, to red, all those other things that can make for good end board pieces and control the game if you have to go into a longer grind. So that's the real benefits of this build. I think it's really, really fun. I think it's very, very powerful, and especially looking at post-ban list, seeing if the super heavy engine gets hit, this may be a very good strategy. And if the Sprite deck gets hit too, putting these two together is definitely a strong strategy. So all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you like this deck down in the comments down below and what you would do differently to make it even stronger. Logan JYA signing off. Have a great day. I'll see you beautiful people later. Peace!